Imagine this chilling scenario. You arrive at the airport 2 hours early, dragging your luggage, stressed about making your connection, but confident that you have nothing to hide. You step into the TSA security line, begin the ritual of removing your shoes and belt, placing your laptop in a separate bin, and assume that the uniformed officers are there for one singular purpose: to ensure no weapons get on the plane. But what if I told you that the scanners you are walking through and the ID checks you are submitting to are not just about aviation safety, but are the front-end data collection points for a massive, invisible surveillance dragnet that is secretly harvesting the most intimate details of your life: where you sleep, who you visit, how you spend your money, your entire movement history, and funneling that data directly to immigration and customs enforcement without a warrant, without a subpoena, and without your knowledge? This is not the plot of a dystopian sci-fi novel. It is the silent, pervasive reality unfolding at every single airport in America right now, affecting every traveler from the U.S. citizen born in Kansas to the student visa holder from Kenya. Welcome back to U.S. Immigration Insight, the channel dedicated to exposing the hidden mechanisms of the immigration system to protect your rights and your future. Today, we are blowing the whistle on a massive surveillance scandal involving the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, and ICE that threatens the privacy and liberty of every person who dares to board a plane in the United States. I need you to stay with me until the very end of this video, because understanding this secret data pipeline is the only way to shield yourself from wrongful detention, invasive questioning, potential revocation of your status, and the terrifying prospect of being caught in a digital trap you didn't even know existed. The core of this issue is a quiet, systematic betrayal of public trust that has been occurring under our noses for years. The Transportation Security Administration was created in the wake of 9/11 with a specific, limited mandate: aviation safety. Its job is to ensure that planes do not fall out of the sky and that passengers are safe from physical threats. We, as the traveling public, accepted the inconvenience of removing our shoes and limiting our liquids as a fair trade for safety. However, shocking investigative reports and whistleblower accounts have revealed that TSA has morphed into something far more sinister: a domestic intelligence gathering arm for immigration enforcement. They are not just scanning your boarding pass to check if you are on the flight, they are capturing your entire travel ecosystem. This includes your historical flight patterns over years, your layover choices, your payment methods, credit card numbers, billing addresses, your frequent flyer data, your IP addresses used for booking, and even the subtle behavioral notes made by agents during screening, like if you seemed nervous or sweaty. When this massive trove of data is handed over to ICE, it transforms a routine domestic flight from Chicago to New York, a trip that should have zero immigration implications, into a potential immigration checkpoint. ICE algorithms fed by this TSA data can flag you simply because your travel patterns match a risk profile generated by artificial intelligence. Perhaps you travel frequently to a specific region of the country known for certain industries, or you buy one-way tickets because of your work schedule, or your name vaguely resembles someone on a watch list, or your credit card billing address doesn't match the residence you listed on a visa application 5 years ago. Suddenly, you are not just a passenger in seat 14B. You are a person of interest. This surveillance architecture is particularly dangerous for non-citizens. If you are a green card holder or a visa holder, your legal status is often contingent on your activities and your residence. A simple domestic trip can trigger an ICE alert if the system believes you are working in a location not authorized by your visa, or if you are spending too much time away from your registered address, raising suspicions of fraud. We have seen documented cases where international students were detained at airports while traveling for spring break, interrogated for hours about their class schedules and finances, all because an algorithm flagged a discrepancy in their data that a human would have seen as a simple error. This is the new reality. You are being watched not because you are a criminal, but simply because you are a traveler. The legal justification for this massive data sharing is a patchwork of post-9/11 national security laws that were intended to catch terrorists, not to police the movement of students, workers, and families. Constitutional experts and civil liberties advocates argue that this mass, warrantless data sharing violates the Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. The Constitution requires probable cause, or at least reasonable suspicion, before the government can investigate you. But in this system, the act of buying a plane ticket is treated as consent to a total digital autopsy. By treating every passenger as a suspect until proven innocent by an algorithm, the government is eroding the foundational civil liberties that define a free society. This surveillance creep means that agencies are using powers granted for one purpose, anti-terrorism, to enforce laws for a completely different purpose, immigration control, bypassing the judicial oversight that is supposed to protect us. The consequences of this data sharing are real, terrifying, and already ruining lives. Mixed status families, where some members are citizens, some are residents, and some may be undocumented, are now afraid to fly to weddings, funerals, or family reunions. They fear that the undocumented relative will be flagged by facial recognition technology or data matching at the airport, leading to detention and deportation. But it is not just undocumented individuals at risk. U.S. citizens with foreign-sounding names, or those who travel frequently to certain countries, are routinely pulled into secondary inspection, missing their flights, losing business opportunities, and enduring the humiliation of public interrogation simply because a computer system cannot distinguish them from a person of interest. The psychological toll is immense, a chilling effect that causes innocent people to restrict their own movement out of fear, effectively creating an invisible prison where people are afraid to leave their home cities. Furthermore, the centralization of this data creates a massive cybersecurity risk. When your passport number, travel history, biometric data, and financial information are stored in massive interagency databases, accessible by thousands of agents and contractors across DHS, ICE, and TSA, the risk of leaks, hacks, and identity theft skyrockets. We have seen government databases breached before. Imagine the damage if this treasure trove of traveler data was exposed to the dark web. So, how do you fight back in this surveillance state? How do you travel without fear? Knowledge and preparation are your best weapons. First, you must ensure your immigration paperwork is absolutely impeccable. If there is even a typo in your visa status, a discrepancy in your address history, or a gap in your employment record, fix it now with a qualified immigration attorney before you even think about booking a flight. Do not give the algorithm a reason to flag you. Second, become a meticulous record keeper of your own life. Carry physical copies of your immigration documents, proof of your return tickets, proof of your current residence, like a utility bill, and employment verification letters when you travel. If an agent questions you based on erroneous data on their screen, you need to be able to slap a piece of paper on the counter that proves them wrong instantly. Third, reconsider the convenience of programs like TSA PreCheck and Global Entry. While they save you 10 minutes in line, they require you to voluntarily hand over even more biometric and personal data to the government, data that is then fed into this surveillance machine. You must decide if that trade-off, privacy for convenience, is worth it for you and your family. Fourth, you must know your rights and be prepared to assert them. If you are stopped by ICE or TSA for questioning that goes beyond standard security screening, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to speak to an attorney. You do not have to answer questions about your immigration status, your religion, your political beliefs, or your finances without a lawyer present. Crucially, while agents may pressure you, you do not have to unlock your phone or laptop without a warrant. Refusing may result in them seizing the device for a period, which is inconvenient, but unlocking it gives them access to your entire digital life, which could be far more damaging. Prepare your devices before you travel. Back up your data, remove sensitive apps, And consider traveling with a clean device that contains minimal personal information. Finally, scrub your digital footprint. Social media is now fair game for border agents. They can and will look at your Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Ensure your public profiles do not contain information that contradicts your visa status or could be misinterpreted. If you are on a student visa but posting about working full-time, or on a tourist visa posting about moving to the US permanently, you are handing them the evidence to deport you. This is a battle for privacy, dignity, and the freedom of movement. By watching this video, you have taken the first step. You are now aware. By sharing this video, you are helping to wake up a public that has been lulled into complacency, believing that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. That saying is a lie in the age of algorithmic policing, where errors and biases can turn innocent people into targets. At U.S. Immigration Insight, we will continue to monitor these developments, expose these secret programs, and provide you with the strategies you need to travel freely and fearlessly. We believe that you should not have to surrender your rights just to visit your grandmother or attend a business meeting. If this report opened your eyes to the hidden reality of travel in America, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your community, your family, and your friends. We are stronger when we are informed. Thank you for watching, stay vigilant, and safe travels. Now, let's delve deeper into specific scenarios that illustrate the gravity of this situation. Consider the case of Sarah, a permanent resident who traveled domestically for a work conference. She had a minor misdemeanor on her record from 10 years ago, long resolved and disclosed during her green card application. However, the new algorithmic screening flagged her because she booked a last-minute ticket, a common business practice, and her payment method was a corporate card not linked to her personal address. When she arrived at the airport, she was pulled aside not for a random check, but for a targeted interrogation. Officers questioned her about her employment, her residence, and even her past legal history, information that TSA agents have no business knowing and certainly no expertise in interpreting. Sarah missed her flight, was humiliated in front of her colleagues, and left with a profound sense of violation. This incident highlights how data points, when stripped of context and fed into a machine, can construct a narrative of suspicion around perfectly legal behavior. For international travelers, the stakes are even higher. The concept of extreme vetting has moved from the consulate to the departure gate. When you fly internationally, your data is shared not just with U.S. agencies, but often with foreign governments as well, under intelligence sharing agreements. This global web of surveillance means that a political post you liked on social media, a protest you attended years ago, or a donation to a charity can trigger a flag before you even land. We have reports of U.S. residents being stopped in transit countries, questioned by foreign agents acting on U.S. intelligence, and denied boarding. This extraterritorial reach of U.S. immigration enforcement is unprecedented and operates in a legal gray area where your constitutional rights are even harder to enforce. Furthermore, we must address the digital strip search of electronic devices. This is becoming an increasingly common tactic at borders and airports. Agents demand passwords to phones and laptops, sometimes copying the entire contents of the device for later analysis. This includes your emails, text messages, photos, browser history, and app data. For professionals, this puts confidential client data at risk. For activists and journalists, it threatens sources and sensitive communications. For everyone else, it is a gross invasion of personal privacy. The data extracted from devices is often stored in databases for years, accessible to thousands of agents. This practice is currently being challenged in courts, but until a definitive ruling is made, it remains a potent tool in the government's arsenal. You need to be aware that your digital life is an open book to them if you hand over that password. Another critical aspect is the use of facial recognition technology. Airports are rapidly deploying biometric scanners at gates, often without clear signage or opt-out procedures. These cameras capture your face and match it against government databases in real time. While touted as a convenience to speed up boarding, It is actually building a comprehensive biometric tracking system. Unlike a boarding pass, you cannot leave your face at home. This technology allows for persistent, passive surveillance of individuals as they move through public spaces. There are serious concerns about the accuracy of these systems, particularly their bias against people of color, leading to false positives and wrongful detentions. You have the right to opt out of facial recognition scans for now, but you must be proactive and vocal about it, often demanding a manual ID check instead. The financial surveillance component is also alarming. By tracking payment methods for flights and travel-related expenses, the government can build a financial profile of travelers. They can see if you are spending beyond your reported means, which could trigger an investigation into unreported income or unauthorized employment. They can see who is paying for your travel, potentially linking you to other individuals under investigation. This financial data, combined with travel patterns, creates a high-resolution map of your life that leaves little room for privacy. It is a level of scrutiny usually reserved for financial crimes investigations, now applied to the general traveling public. Let's also talk about the watch lists. The no-fly list and the terrorist screening database are notoriously opaque and difficult to challenge. Innocent people, including children and U.S. military veterans, have found themselves on these lists due to name mix-ups or clerical errors. The new data-sharing initiatives between TSA and ICE likely feed into and expand these lists, adding immigration-related criteria to what was originally a counter-terrorism tool. If you find yourself unable to print a boarding pass at a kiosk or consistently pulled aside for random secondary screening, you may have been flagged. The redress process, through the DHS Traveler Redress Inquiry Program, DHS TRIP, is slow, bureaucratic, and often ineffective, leaving people in a state of limbo where their freedom of movement is restricted without due process. Finally, the impact on asylum seekers cannot be overstated. Many people flee persecution and come to the U.S. seeking safety. Their travel history is often complicated and fraught with danger. By sharing this data with ICE, the government may be inadvertently exposing asylum seekers to the very governments they are fleeing, or using their flight paths to deny their claims based on technicalities rather than the merit of their fear. It criminalizes the act of seeking safety and turns the humanitarian obligation of asylum into a data mining exercise. This is a profound ethical failure that contradicts the values of a nation built by immigrants and refugees. In conclusion, the TSA ICE data sharing scandal is not just about airport security. It is about the fundamental relationship between the government and the people. It is about whether we accept a society where we are all treated as suspects, where our movements are tracked and analyzed, and where our privacy is sacrificed on the altar of enforcement efficiency. It is a wake-up call to demand transparency, accountability, and legal protections. We must push for legislative oversight, support legal challenges, and equip ourselves with the knowledge to navigate this landscape safely. At U.S. Immigration Insight, we are committed to being your ally in this fight. We will continue to dig deep, verify facts, and bring you the unvarnished truth. Your support, through subscribing, sharing, and engaging with our content, empowers us to keep doing this vital work. Together, we can shine a light in the dark corners of the system and demand a future where safety does not come at the cost of liberty. Thank you for standing with us. Stay safe, stay informed, and never stop fighting for your rights.